Hi, my name is Chef Stephen Guy with Trilogy Health Services, and today I'm here at Wellbrook of Kokomo, and I was going to demonstrate something you may want to use this holiday season. Everybody does turkey or ham, which are great, but if you want a nice alternative, maybe for a smaller gathering or family, I'd like to show you a pork tenderloin that I'm going to herb crust, and then I'm going to top with a nice cranberry sauce to complement it. Pork and sweet have always gone well together. The herbs I've chosen are sage, rosemary, and thyme, which, by the way, if you see in the grocery store poultry seasoning, that is what those ingredients are. It's so much better to do it fresh and do it yourself. You get a much more pleasant flavor to go along with your product. This is the pork tenderloin, not to be confused with the big pork loin. These usually come in a 2-pack, and they're about always on sale. What I'm going to do first is I want to come in and I just want to kind of season it with kosher salt. Then I'm going to come in with black pepper. Now these herbs, since they're fresh, they are going to be a lot stronger. Rosemary I selected kind of has that pine smell to it, so you want to go little on it so it doesn't overpower your product. Then I'm going to bring in the thyme, and finally sage. Sage and pork have always worked well together. In fact, if you like to make biscuits and gravy on Christmas morning, add a little sage to your gravy. Now that that's done, I'm going to roll the product over and just repeat. Salt, pepper, my herbs, wonderful. You can already start to smell it. I'm going to move these aside. So before I go to the oven with it, by the way, I do my oven at 350 degrees, no convection air blowing on it. There we go. Going stainless steel. You do not need to use non-stick. The secret to proteins when using stainless steel is the product will naturally remove from the pan when it's done cooking. So if it's kind of sticking, it's not quite ready yet. We're going to get the pan nice and hot, because what I want to do is sear. I want to put like a little crust on top of the pork. That's also going to make my herbs stick out as bright when it's done cooking. It's going to give a little texture difference, so it gives a good mouthfeel. You'll kind of know when your oil is ready. There's 2 tricks you can do. Throw a drop of water in it and it might jump. In fact, that's called sauté technically. It's the French word to jump is sauté. That's where that comes from. Or you'll start to see the oil shimmer a little bit. We kind of say that's smiling at us. So with that, gloved hands, hear that wonderful sound. Now you can really start smelling the aromas. And once this is seared, we'll be right back. So like I said, when your proteins are done coagulating, meaning tightening up, that's what's going to make them non-stick on a stainless steel pan. Roll it right on over. See how bright the herbs are. See how I had no struggle. If you did have a little struggle, you can get something called a fish spatula, real inexpensive. Maybe just lift it a little. But that's that color I want. We do eat with our eyes first, which is very important. It's also not just an expression. If you like what you see, you're going to salivate. That's the first step of digestion. So I always want to make sure we're appealing to the eye first. There we go. It's searing away. Start to give. Drop my heat. I won't need to add any oil or non-stick to my pan. What I have just lightly coated on the pork is enough. Go straight to pan, beautiful colorization both sides, and into the oven. Now, all ovens cook differently, so I can sit here and tell you it's going to be perfectly 20 minutes at 350. Well, the truth of it is, check it, and check it with a thermometer. Make sure your thermometer goes into the deepest part of the product. A lot of people used to cook pork over 165 degrees, which is why it always ended up dry. There used to be a fear of getting something called trick. Well, since the late 70s, that hasn't been a problem. And in culinary school, we even teach you cook it just to medium. Ideal temperature I like for pork is anywhere between 145 and about 152. If I'm spot on, I'm gonna get it at 148. So while that's cooking, I've taken this little pan and I've added about a pint of cranberry juice to it. While the cranberry juice is in there, I've got these dried craisins, which by the way go great on any salad. If you're roasting Brussels sprouts, nice green vegetables, roast your Brussels sprouts and bacon and add these. But because they're dry, I'm gonna go ahead and add these to this pint of cranberry juice now. I'm gonna kind of let them start rehydrating a little bit. Now, cranberry juice, just like this, is definitely not a sauce by any means. However, we're going to tighten it all up with the use of cornstarch. We would call this a slurry. So I've got about 3, maybe a little bit more than 3 tablespoons of cornstarch in here. And I'm going to add cold water to it. If you add hot water, you're going to get instant lumping and clumping, and you're not going to be able to use your product. You'll see a little goes a long way. Add just a little bit of cool water. Start stirring. It's going to be rough at first. Almost feel like you're trying to stir cement, and out of nowhere it's just going to give way. Now there is no point in me adding this to my cranberry juice yet. So cornstarch doesn't activate really till it gets past 178 to 183 degrees depending on altitude. So until this heats up, it won't add. So with the little amount of water I added, I've completely made a slurry. Kind of looks like milk. Now mind you, cornstarch is flavorless, but if you overdo it, your product will get too thick. Just correct it with more of the flavorful liquid, in this instance, cranberry. Starting to heat up. So once this hits temperature, we'll come right back. All right, so now my product has come back to a boil. I know for a fact liquids boil at 212, so it's definitely past the 178 to 181 point. Just gonna slowly drizzle this in. I think I'm just gonna use a fork this time. It's tightening up already. If you're in a hurry, use a slurry. Here we go. Go just a little tighter on that because I want it to adhere to the pork nicely. Turn my heat down just a little bit, mildly tighter. So even if you can't see this quite yet, we will be able to show you here in a little bit. When I put it on the pork, I'm going to turn the heat off. Just kind of set this aside. So now that we got the pork at the proper temperature, move it out. Also, I let this product set for about 10 minutes. So I don't want to cut it right away. I don't want the juices to flow. I want the juices to stay in it. So like I said, we don't want to serve a dry product. That's exactly what I want. I'm going to cut it on the angle for nicer presentation. The juice, you can just see flowing. Excellent. Ideally, I'd like to have a couple of these. This just happens to be the serving platter I had. Stretch it out. All right. Take the cranberry right over the top. Again, ideally I'd like just a little smaller serving platter, and then bring that right to your holiday table. So there's a nice alternative to the turkey or ham that you can do at home yourself.